This is George Dionne of the Rock is George podcast, and this is a KNAC.com exclusive interview with guitarist Tony Childs of the hard rock act Electric Temple. I ask everybody the same first question. If I knew absolutely nothing about Electric Temple, how would you describe your music to me?
I would say we're a band that pays homage to the bands that were the godfathers of hard rock metal, the Sabbath, the Judas Priest, the Dios, the stuff that we grew up with, when we were younger, the stuff that had such an impression on my age group and my generation, that today, when we hear that music, it just brings us back to our youth immediately and gives us a great feeling. We wanted to recreate that feeling, not necessarily to gain the younger fans, although we would love to have that happen, but really to give the fans of that era of music something new, because there hasn't been a lot of new music out that really has that vibe. It's hard to find. So really, it was just a project of love, coming back to something that is not financially a great thing to do today. You're not going to make any money doing this, but it wasn't about the money. It was about the passion of the music that we loved and connecting on it. And I think a lot of people who have heard the album can see where that connection and where we took it from. There is a modern twist on it, naturally, because we're not living back then, so we've had influences, but there is a core of those bands, and that's what we expanded on.
Now, the members of Electric Temple, kind of an all-star project here. You got Matt Starr on drums from Frehley. You got Mike Duda on bass from W.A.S.P, and Andrew Freeman on vocals from Last in Line. How did you bring everybody together for this?
Yeah, first of all, Mike Duda and myself are from Connecticut originally. We grew up in the club circuit here, playing in bands before he moved to LA and joined W.A.S.P. So we've had a lot of connection, and plus, back in the early 2000s, we had him play bass on our Shanghai album, which is a band I was in. So we've recorded before, and we've played in actual for a minute a band that back before. So that connection has been there for years. Matt Starr is also, believe it or not, from Connecticut. Another guy who played the circuit with a band that was big around the area called Run 21, who used to play in Massachusetts and Connecticut and Vermont. And he also, just by happened, played with Doug, who also plays in W.A.S.P, who was a guitar player in Run 21. So there is a kind of synergy there with the area and the people. So when I wanted to start this project, it was a concept of me just wanting to get out a lot of things that were going on in my life out. And music is the best way for me to do that. It's the best music therapy for me. And the whole concept of Electric Temple is that music is something that is a religion to me. It is something that, for me, and when I go to a concert, it's a religious experience, because I see everybody coming together, no matter what age they are, what race, color, creed, that whole thing. It's all out the window. We're all here to experience something together that is a common language, and metal is a common language. And this whole project was about having some salvation, some redemption of things that were going on in my life through metal. And who better to get on the project with some of the best names in metal right now playing. So I made the call. I said, hey, I'm going to do this project. I'm writing these songs. I think I have an album worth of material. Um, when do you have time? Because everybody was touring. You know, Matt was with Ace Frehley. Mike was doing some festivals in Europe with W.A.S.P. And Andrew was in Last in Line, and he was touring. So the whole project was pieced together in between everybody's tour slots. And graciously, everybody made time for the project. And somehow we pulled it off. There's this idea of doing something, and it's a great idea, but to get across the finish line is a whole other thing. So just to say that we also got Chris Collier, who's a great mixer, and he mastered the project for us involved. So that was the really icing on the cake, the sonic excellence that he brought to the project, that he's been working with, huge bands for years like Korn and Whitesnake, and Last in Line. So, it was a really great team that came together to make this happen, and we're all very proud of it.
And your debut album, High Voltage Salvation, has been out for about 3 or 4 months now. It came out through Eonian Records.
Right.
You mentioned kind of everybody working on it as they had time. About how long did it take to get to the end point of the album?
Probably about a year.
Okay.
With the mixing and everything. Yeah.
Did you handle the majority of the songwriting because it's your project, or were there chip-ins by the other members?
The project was pretty much 95% done. There's a few songs that Andrew has writing credits on, but the majority was actually done with another singer before Andrew got a hold of it, because Andrew was the last piece of the puzzle. He really didn't have much time to do the vocals when we were starting to lay down the vocal tracks. So I had some other singers on it. But when Andrew came on board, it was like night and day. It was, he's such an amazing singer. First of all, he's a great person. And the other thing is, he really got into the material and he put his own stamp on it. He gave it his own flavor, and I couldn't ask for better.
Was there ever an opportunity where you were able to record some material in the same room with each other, or because of everybody's schedules, it all had to be file sharing back and forth?
No, actually, we were able to do, when Mike was off tour, he came to Connecticut, and Matt and I got together a few times. So there was bits and pieces of it. Andrew, since he was on the West Coast all the time, the only time we got together with him was when we shot the videos in person.
Okay. Let's talk about some of the singles you have out from the album. I believe your latest is The Storm. You have a great music video that goes along with it, dedicated to the first responders that were dealing with the wildfires out in LA. I'm sure the song didn't start off that way, but it certainly seems to apply.
Yeah, it was a happy accident. I mean, it just seemed like that was going to be our next single, and for what was going on, it just seemed to fit the perfect scenario where we were watching television. We were watching these courageous men and women, law enforcement, firefighters, doctors, everybody, people coming off the street, lay people, helping out to do something that was really an insurmountable task. And The Storm is about persevering through some things that are really taking on something that you wouldn't think you could get through. And there was certainly some time when those fires were out of control and the whole city was burning, that it was like, but they didn't stop the efforts, and they kept going, and round the clock. I don't know if most of these people didn't sleep for weeks. So I don't know how they did it, but they did it, and they got it under control. So The Storm lyrically fit perfectly for the video concept.
Let's talk about another single that you put out there, Streets of Pain. If you want to tell me a little bit about what inspired that song.
Part of that song is about some people that I know that went to LA to to join the music scene, and it took a different turn for them. It wasn't really the warm and fuzzy scenario that they wanted. Fortunately, there's a lot of demons and things that can trip you up, and that basically. And if you look at the video, my son actually is playing the young up and coming rock star, which he is up and coming rock star, but his band Tilt, by the way. And it just shows that, these streets can eat you up alive. So you gotta have a good head screwed on straight, because there's a lot of pitfalls out there, especially in the music business, the music scene. And that was the gist of that song.
You mentioned your son Mike getting into the music business, his band Tilt. A lot of kids kind of want to go the other way of their dad. Your son also plays guitar. Have you guys had an opportunity to play live together?
We have, in fact. There's a few outdoor shows that he graciously, said, "Hey, Daddy, you want to take the walker out for a spin and come on stage?" I got up there. Yeah, no, we're good. He and I built a studio together, recording studio together, and he's been recording his bands there for years now. And so, yeah, we've done some live things, but I like to be behind the scenes a lot and just see how great it is for him to pursue his passion, the same passion I had when I was that age.
It's a good, warm, fuzzy feeling.
It is. I'm very proud. Very proud.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about what inspired the lyrics to Doomed?
Well, Doomed is an interesting song, because I was just reading one day about just different things that were happening about how there's banned on different types of torturing they have, when they interrogate people. And I stumbled upon this type of torture. It was called white room torture, and it's really a crazy torture. And it's even though it's not physically something that's like gore and blood, it's one of the most described as the most terrifying torture, because they put you in this room, white room, and they feed you white rice. There's no sound. All your senses are deprived, and it basically breaks you down mentally to the point where you lose yourself. And so I thought it was an interesting concept of if you put yourself in that position, how you would start losing your mind, and how things would start. Your senses were all, off kilt, because you didn't have anything orally to hear. You had nothing to see except white. What that would do to you mentally. And I just thought that would be an interesting concept for a metal song. A la Iron Maiden. You gotta have some kind of concept, and the Iron Maiden's built around a torture chamber. So hey, why not talk about torture more in metal, right?
I guess so.
It was just a fun concept. It wasn't. Thank God I haven't. It's not a personal experience, but I put myself into it.
You should have just did a music video that was just a white screen with the song playing, and people would be like, "What's going on here?"
Yeah, but I don't think many people would want to watch it when they find out what it's about.
True. The final single that we haven't touched upon yet is Big Black Hole. If you want to tell me a little bit about that one.
Big Black Hole is a personal experience. That is about depression. That is about getting to a place in your life where some things are dark, and certain times a lot of people don't have a way out, and they take the ultimate bad choice, which is taking their life. So there's been a lot of times in my life that I felt that some of my friends who've made that choice, how did they get there? Thinking about that. It wasn't until a lot of things were happening in my life around people that I loved and everything. There's a lot of dark things happening, and I had to get that out. And music, for me, playing music and is my, like I said, a cathartic experience that helped me get through those hard times. And this is kind of like a mental public service mentions for getting mental health. If you feel that you're going in this dark big black hole, there's ways to get out of it that are something that you could get out, and you don't have to take the ultimate way out. So um, it's a song that for me um, helped me get to a better place, and I'm hoping that if only one person listens to the song and get to a better place, it was all worth it. So that's my hope, that people can take something good out of it.
And I think in this day and age, speaking about mental health, and if you're in a bad place, it's not viewed as being weak as far as being a man anymore. Back in the day, you're considered weak, put it down aside. But I think it's more open and honest conversation these days, even throughout social media and society in general.
Yeah, and my hope is that it can be a commonplace to talk about how you feel and not feel ashamed about that.
Well, I'm glad that you shared your personal experience in that song, and as older guys as we are, we know that dark times. We face these dark times, and then we get past them, and we're like, "Geez, that wasn't so bad."
Right, right, and there are people and ways to get help, and talking to people is one of the number one ways to do it.
Yeah, and I think people will find that we're in similar situations. You talk to your friends, you talk to your doctor, you talk to whomever it is, you'll find out that we're all kind of dealing with similar things, and I don't think at times we look at it that way. We're like, nah, he's not going to know what I'm talking about.
And the power of music also is something that I feel that's very important for people to latch on to something that makes them feel better. Finding, for me, again, the type of music that this album is based on. Even when I was younger, and in your early teens, there's a lot of things that bother you. There's ways to cope, and music was my way of coping. And music always helped me through those hard times. And this album was more of a concept of letting people know that you can celebrate music together. It's something that brings us together, um, almost like a religion, and that's what help me. And going to shows, going to concerts, sharing an album with somebody, sharing the music, having those common interests, helped me as a youth to get through the hard times, and it's still helping me today, which is an incredible, thing to be able to still say.
Absolutely. The new album is only 8 tracks long, 37 minutes, kind of like an old classic 70s album, I would say. Do you have any leftover material that you're going to put out at a later date?
Yeah, I think we saved a few tracks. We thought it was a good amount. The songs aren't pop 3 minute songs. Most of them are close to 5 minutes. So it is they're it is, like you said, homage to the way songs were written back then, lengthwise. So we do have a few tracks that were left over from the album that will eventually be released. But we thought it was a good flow with those 8 songs from start to finish, and that's why we left it at that.
So, what led to you signing with Eonian Records?
Well, Eonian Records is the two guys that have been involved in bringing a lot of bands that didn't get a lot of play back in the day for whatever reason. A lot of them got the tail end of when, you know, the whole tide changed with grunge. So they were always looking for bands that needed to have another day in the sun. They never got their day in the sun. And so for years, they've always had some great bands, and they started now changing the label. They've actually started having newer bands, new projects rather, released. They did Freak Show, which is Carlos Cavazo, his band, and so they approached us and they said, we want to release some new material, and it was a good fit. We really liked what they're offering, and they're great guys, and they really do great at promotion, and they put a great package together, a nice CD with nice packaging and all the lyrics in it, and we're really happy with what they helped us do.
Now, you mentioned the CD physical format of music, not what it used to be. Everybody usually releases, digital, some physical media and stuff like that. A lot of bands and labels kind of going back towards vinyl. I know you said you did this more for the love than you did for the money. Was vinyl just unattainable at this point in the project's creation?
Well, I got some good news for you. Here's the vinyl.
Nice.
And that's available on electrictemple.com right now.
All right.
And we also have, which is another throwback. Do I have one here, right here?
A cassette?
We have it. Here we go. There it is. You can get the cassette version. However, we cheated a little bit on the cassette, I have to tell you. Even though it's a cassette,
yeah,
it's actually a USB cassette. Because we wanted people to be able to play it in their car. There's not many people that have cassette players anymore. But it has that same vibe. So at least you can get that and have the digital media that way.
Not many people have CD players in their car anymore.
Not many people have CD players, right? So, but that's a way to get around it. And I haven't met anybody that has a turntable in their car yet.
I'm crossing my fingers.
But yes, we have all the essential media available.
Awesome.
So one way or another, you will be able to hear Electric Temple, High Voltage Salvation, somewhere, somehow.
So is Electric Temple going to remain a studio project, or are there any plans to play a show or two live if obviously schedules line up?
We've talked about it, and Andrew's up for it. But the whole thing about playing out is that when you have a pocket in between these schedules and the stars align, to go on the road for just a week or two is doesn't really pay the bills. So it would have to be something that where everybody had more of a lull to get together to do it, or we get a flying for a festival or something like that, which we're working on. If everybody's, but honestly, W.A.S.P has been doing so well, and I'm so happy for those guys that they've come back with such a vengeance, and they just keep getting gigs. So if it does happen with Mike, that would be great. But more than likely, Electric Temple would probably go out there, and we'd probably get someone else to play bass. It just because they're booked all through next year already. So
yeah, they're taken off by kind of revisiting the past, and there's something to say for kind of promoting the legacy and promoting new music. And I think it was the perfect time for W.A.S.P to kind of hit that nostalgia circuit.
And I'll tell you, all those guys are great players, and Blackie's back in great form. So, it's their time again to really shine.
So I want to hit the time machine with you, not 40 years like W.A.S.P, maybe 30-ish, back to Shanghai. You released an album called Take Another Bite in 1989. You might have existed before that, but unfortunately the internet doesn't know a lot about it. You released that album through Exclusive Records. Why don't you tell me a little bit about, getting the band together and making this album?
Shanghai, yeah, we actually had an EP out, like you said, in 1989. It was produced by James Christian from House of Lords, engineered by Jeff Kanata, who's known for probably his solo work, but he also was in a great band on Portrait CBS called Archangel, and that was all him. And two Connecticut natives again. I mean, we were a small state, but we pack a punch. We got some great talent here, and that album did great locally, and we actually were able to secure some great management. Judith Randall and her daughter were big songwriters. They had the Knee Deep in the Hoopla album, a hit on for Justin Starship, as among and many other songs. But Judith took us under her wing. She managed us from Hollywood, got us a record deal in Japan at the time, and that was real full length. Take Another Bite, because the EP on exclusive was only 4 songs.
Okay.
So we went in the studio and recorded more songs with James Christian and Jeff for the Taichiku record label in Japan, and we sold a lot of copies. We went gold in Japan back in 1991. So nobody really heard of us because that was pre-internet. So, but and then Nirvana came in, and the Japanese said, "Hey, thanks for the rock album, but we're gonna the hard rock metal album, but we're gonna start signing these bands." So, like so many other bands, we got the tail end of it, and but it was fun. We had a really good time being able to put that album out, and we did a follow-up album, which I mentioned that came out in 2000, which Mike Duda from W.A.S.P also played on, and that was another album that we felt was a great album, but the timing was terrible because we called it Bombs Away, and that album came out the day before 9/11. So we didn't push and promote it at all, because if you remember
Pulling salt off the radio.
how the climate was back then, everybody had American flags in their car, and everybody was really, so devastated about it. We just didn't feel, we felt it would be in bad taste to promote the album at that time. It's a great album, and there's some great songs on it, and the production is phenomenal on it. But it was one of those timing was off for us.
Did Shanghai ever play any live performances in Japan?
We did not. We just shot videos there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great album cover, by the way. Very 1989. Was that a stock photo or somebody's girlfriend?
Well, we knew that with the EP, and if you remember, when there were record stores, there were some local chains like Merle's Record Rack and some local. You could get your album in record stores without having a major distribution deal. So we figured, hey, let's do a cover that would shock you a little bit and get you noticed in the sea of record covers. So we figured, let's, the old idiom, sex sells. So we had to find a model that we wanted to portray that shocking little album cover visual. And it was a tough job, but we took it on. We went to every strip bar we could. We asked every beautiful woman that we come across if they wanted to be on the album cover, and our photographer loved us because we were just having everybody come in, and he was just shooting tons of photos. And Gabrielle, who happened to be from Brazil, had a very what I'd say a photogenic derriere, and she ended up being the mascot for the Shanghai album. Thank you, Gabrielle. Thank you to your mother and father.
So how did you secure James Christian to work on this album? I'm 1989-ish. I'm not I didn't look it up to see. This was probably about the time that House of Lords was breaking, or just
Oh
before
yeah.
he joined him.
Oh no, he had that full force going. But again, coming from Connecticut, he would come back and see family during Christmas, and we had a mutual friend, and that friend said to us, you know, James is coming in. I'm going to give him your demo tape, and I'm going to see if he'd be interested in producing it. Well, he's back in town for a few weeks, so it was a rush thing. But he came listen to the tape. He said, "I want to see you guys live," and saw us live. Liked what he saw, and having the connection, because I don't know many people know that James Christian and Jeff Canada used to play together in a band called Jasper, who had a hit song back, you know, early in the 70s. And so they were, you know, old buds, and Jeff got us into his studio, and the studio is incredible. Happened to be not too far away from where I live. I never knew he was there until James told me about him. So, and he had this little hideaway studio, and he was doing his albums there for CBS, and he had a full setup, and it was an amazing studio. So it all worked out again. Just you know, the networking of Connecticut, uh, it just worked in our favor. Now we were in a small pond, and we were lucky that to have certain friends that knew each other and got us to the next level.
Kanada's Archangel album, fantastic. I love that album. Hidden Gem. I don't. I was kind of young when it first came out. Discovered it later in life. Fantastic album.
Oh, it is. And recently, I just went back into Jeff's studio with the drummer in Shanghai, Ron Kramer, who's been producing some great stuff. And he just had a project together for the Ukrainian war effort, and he had Phil X play on it with Tony Franklin and Greg Bissonette, and we went in the studio to mix it. And I brought that Archangel album. I'm gonna release a little video of it,
Nice.
have Jeff signing it for me, because I remember being in my bedroom, and as a teenager in high school, you know, with my guitars and my posters on the wall and listening to the radio, and I heard the Archangel uh, come on the radio on 99 Rock PLR, our state rock station here, and then they mentioned it. Hey, this is Jeff Canada, Connecticut native, and I'm like, wow, this guy lives in Connecticut, not knowing that literally I could probably walk to his house. That's how close he was to me in Hamden. Fast forward a couple years later, I was in the studio doing Shanghai album with him. So it was, you know, but it was a phenomenal album, like you said. And there's great players on it, and just an amazing talent in his own right.
Now, a Shanghai song recently appeared on a Stars Network TV show, Hightown. It was Please Me, Tease Me. So that must have been pretty cool for you.
Yeah, and you know, I'm astounded still that we're milking that album, to be honest with you. But this all began with our manager Judith, who had her Hollywood connections, lived in Hollywood, and her family was all part of the Hollywood scene. Her father was a writer for like I Love Lucy back in the day, you know. So she got our songs originally on in movies back, you know, when it first came out, like the Amy Fisher story. I don't know if you remember Drew Barrymore when played Amy Fisher on the ABC Movie of the Week, and there's a scene where she's going up to the door to shoot Mary Buttafuoco, and her friend's in the car in the Camaro waiting for her, and he hits the station, and you hear "Please Me, Tease Me" playing the whole time, and she shoots Mary Buttafuoco. So we were lucky enough to, from an early on, to be able to get some of those early Shanghai albums in one form or another, in a lot of movies and film. We did a Dennis Hopper movie with one of those songs, and so yeah, it's continued. It continued for a while. So recently, yeah. So that was Hightown was when we had recently again. Yeah.
Now, what did you do after Shanghai and before Electric Temple, as far as music is concerned?
Well, I actually started writing film and television
Really?
music. Yeah. So it was a lot of background music, like, just for cable shows like American Pickers,
Mhm.
for example. So that was what my creative outlet was. I really didn't want to go and slug it out in the clubs. Plus, the type of music that I was doing with my band, nobody was going to see anymore in the 2000s. You know that. And I mean, the, the 90s rather. So I found some other ways to get involved and keep my foot in the music biz, and that was the best way of doing it. Shanghai did do one show back in 2017, a reunion show. Of course, unfortunately, our bass player Jody Reese had passed on, so he wasn't able to be part of that. But that was for a benefit concert, to raise some money for the station fire in Rhode Island, which
I was there.
unfortunately, yeah, unbelievable. So that was a sad thing to happen to our fans and friends. But yeah, so we did get together. Jade, the singer, and myself got together, and we had a great time reuniting and playing those old songs that we had written back in the day.
That's great. Do you work on any other music projects outside of Electric Temple right now?
Not no band projects, no, just film and television projects.
Okay. Well, those are all the questions I have for you today, Tony. The new Electric Temple album is High Voltage Salvation. It's out now through Eonian Records, and now you can get the vinyl at your official website, electrictemple.com.
Correct.
And I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me about the band, the album, and the history of Shanghai. And I wish you the best of luck with everything.
I appreciate it, and thanks for having us on, and thanks for the support. We really appreciate that.